G'day listeners, Michelle J. Raymond back again. This one is going to be a good one, and it is probably the most popular question that I ever get asked. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I love LinkedIn company pages, but the question is, should you be posting on your company page or your personal profile? First of all, let's have a look at why are people asking whether you should post on a profile or a page more often. And the obvious answer to that one is always going to come back down to there's so much noise on LinkedIn that talks about if you post on your profile versus a company page, you will get more reach and probably more engagement. Now, I'm not here to debate that. I think that's absolutely right. The way that LinkedIn is set up right now, pages are really, when we're talking organic, not paid strategies, are really behind the 8 ball, because just a simple scroll of your own feed, grab your phone right now and count how many posts of each show up. So you'll see personal post, probably 4 of them, an ad, which is a paid company page post, back to another few personal posts, and maybe you'll see a company page post that hasn't been paid for. And if you think about it, that means that company page posts aren't really favored by LinkedIn. The next most obvious question is always, well, Michelle, if profiles get more engagement and reach, why would I bother posting on my company page? Now, you've got to remember when we're talking about companies in the B2B space, they go from everything from micro teams of 1 or 2 people, consultants, service-based businesses, all the way through to multinational and global businesses. So the reason that you shouldn't ignore your company page is that is there to represent your brand as a whole. Whereas personal profiles, they're all about the reach and yes, the engagement, so you can get involved in other conversations. They are absolutely designed to work differently. It's just a matter of making sure that you work out which one is right for you. And that's not always easy. It is not as simple as it is obvious if I get more reach, I'm going to do it on the profile. And here's why. Because I worked for a company once upon a time where they relied on me and my personal brand. So we hear the words employee advocacy. Well, I was kind of an employee advocacy team of 1 person in a company of 1,200 people because I jumped on LinkedIn early, almost 10 years ago now. And what happened was I built an amazing community, and then I switched jobs and I took that community with me. It was my personal community. I had built everything and the company page had been ignored. So what happened when the employee left? I took it with me, and then the company had nothing left. They had all their eggs in one basket. Keep in mind, employees come and go. That's fine. But the brand is the consistent that stays there forever. And so this is what you've got to be mindful of, and always coming back to the power of 2, not either or, not a definitive there is only one way on LinkedIn, always coming back to what is the power of 2, how can we get the best out of both sides? Before I step you through how you can decide whether you post on your LinkedIn profile or your LinkedIn company page, here's a quick word from our podcast sponsors, Metricool, who I deeply appreciate. Haven't heard of it already? Metricool is an all-in-one social media management tool that is a lifesaver for scheduling, analyzing, and managing social media content. Whether it's for my podcast or LinkedIn pages, I can tackle everything in one place. Plus, Metricool is free today, tomorrow, and for life, allowing anyone to test out the platform and get hands-on with their social media management. Their free plan allows you to connect one brand across many social networks. With Metricool's free plan, you get access to in-depth analytics to make more strategic decisions, planning and auto-scheduling of up to 50 pieces of content per month to save time, promote your posts in seconds by creating and managing ads directly through the platform, view best times to see when your followers are more active and know when to post, review and reply to all important social media messages with Metricool's inbox feature, analysis of 5 competitor profiles to spy on the brands you like, and much more. It's truly a tool that you'll want to add to your social media toolkit. Plus, if you think the free plan is jam-packed with features, they also have premium plans to customize to your specific social media needs. To everybody that's listening, make sure you create your free account today and get started exploring the platform. All the links are in the show notes. There's one other factor that people conveniently gloss over when they're talking about this, and they're hell-bent 100% of the time saying all about the employees, all about the personal profiles. And the problem is that 9 out of 10 people do not ever want to post content on LinkedIn. There are so many bits of research out there that look into how users behave in online communities. Ultimately, 9 out of 10 people will never put out content, never like or comment. They're the lurkers that log into LinkedIn, keep up to date, have a look around, and then disappear, right? They're like the ghosts that are going down the hallways. But don't ever think they don't know what's going on. They absolutely do. But do you think that they're ever going to post? No, they're not. Now, if you think about it, that's the majority of people. That leaves pretty much 1%. Even if we went the other way and went crazy and said, okay, it's 10% of people that will post. If you have a look in your company, that doesn't give you a lot of options in many cases. So I want people to stop and think it is not that easy to just say, off you go, employees, we want you to post, and it's just simple. Because I work with so many teams and companies of different sizes, and you see it. We do the training, people love it, they're excited by it, they learn from it. And then getting them to do that first action, especially without support, is really, really hard. So don't just think that you can ignore your company page, put all your eggs in one basket, and then it's all going to be okay, because every employee is going to be so excited about posting content on LinkedIn. The simple fact is they aren't, and that's okay. What I've been surprised by is that in many businesses, the people that would not post personally are very happy to create content under the company page. So it's not their personal name going out there. So company pages can be a really great place for people to start, to build their confidence, get familiar without any of that intimidation factor that happens on LinkedIn. LinkedIn can be a professionally scary place. It is something where we're thinking that others are judging us. We're worried that it will impact our professional career. Maybe you're worried you'll miss out on your bonus, you'll lose your job, you'll say the wrong thing. There won't be that promotion that everybody promises just if you go and post on LinkedIn. These thoughts go through most people's brains when it comes to sitting down at that keyboard and writing the post. So let's just agree up front that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. If we agreed up front that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, how is it that I think that you can work out what you should be doing and where you should be posting? So let's start with the first place that I think everybody should always start. What's your game plan? So we're going to be having a look at what are your business goals? How are we aligning our LinkedIn strategy back into those business goals? Alongside that is we look at our resourcing. What resources do you have internally right now that you can put towards this content strategy on LinkedIn? Now, if the answer is you've got a one-person marketing team and nobody else trained up in the business, nobody that's already creating content, then most of your content will probably go out on the page. That makes sense, with the occasional ones going out with your team. But if you've got a much bigger team and an employee advocacy program, then things are going to be different. The answer is always going to be, I want you to sit down and think about what is it that you can do consistently and persistently over the long term. So this isn't about what you can do for the next 3 weeks. It is what can you do for the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. Because brand building on LinkedIn, as long as that business exists, continues. And it doesn't matter what size the business is. We are always looking to attract better fit opportunities that lead to increased sales. That's why we're doing this. Now, if you are short on resources and trying to figure out how you can keep up with everything, then I highly recommend tools like Metrical. There's a reason I've got them for the sponsor for this podcast so I can talk about the product all the time, because it is a game changer in ensuring that your business can remain consistent and persistent over the long term and do things in the most efficient way possible. Imagine if you wrote one post today, which is an evergreen post that we talk about. So a post that doesn't matter if we were to do it today or in 3 months' time, you could reschedule it. So after you've worked out what resources you have in your business, it's time to look at page or profile. And there's pros and cons for both. As we said, the page is there to be consistent. It is the thing that you can always rely on to keep showing up. And for people that want a number, for small businesses that have some resources, I would be saying 3 posts on the company page per week. Some of you have much bigger teams, and you might even be doing 2 posts per day, which sounds crazy to small business owners, but it's very easy to fill up that much content in big businesses. So for consultants, I know that you're listening into this podcast. Here's the simple answer for you when you're trying to decide. If you have the choice and you have limited time because you're already trying to do everything in your business, you have the option to look at, if I did one post and I put it out on LinkedIn, if I put it on my page or my profile, which one will be seen by more people? The answer every day of the week is on your personal profile. Now, that doesn't mean you ignore your company page brand. That means you're just not going to put as many resources towards that. When it comes to your company page, you might only do 1 post per week. You might only do 1 post every 2 weeks. And for some businesses out there, it might only make sense to do it once a month. And that is perfect for them if it's aligned back to their strategy. Now, if you are someone that would love to keep your company page ticking over some more, without having to create new content all the time, then I've got a strategy for that I'm going to use as my actionable tip in a moment, so stick around. My actionable tip for this week's episode, while you're trying to assess, do I post on my LinkedIn company page or my LinkedIn profile? My tip is, how can you do both without having to keep up with the demands of always creating new content? And the simple answer to this is, go back to your greatest hits library. What are the posts that perform so well either on your personal profile that you can repost or repurpose over onto your company page, or vice versa? And for the bigger companies, that means you could take employee posts and repost them over onto the company page. For employees, you might want to repost one of your company page posts and bring that over onto your personal profile. There are so many different ways. Tools like Metrical, again, I'm going to shout it from the rooftops how much this tool has been a game changer for my business, is that you can take a post that you know has been a greatest hit, something that performed well, something that's not going to date. If you posted it today, you could post it in 3 months' time. Metrical allows you to do that quickly and easily. Things that are consistent messages that I want to repeat over and over again. So things like, hey, it's the end of the month. Don't forget to use your 250-page invite credits. Hey, this is the services that I offer. Did you know I wrote Business Gold? I've got the LinkedIn branding book. They're examples of the types of posts that I repurpose that are my greatest hits that we schedule out multiple times to the end of the year. And the beauty is we've just got 5 posts for the price of 1. Doesn't that sound amazing? So as we wrap up today, I know it can be frustrating sometimes when you want someone to just tell you what to do. You want me to say, post 3 times on personal profile, or ignore personal profile altogether, or only post on your company page and don't worry about the profiles. The simple fact is there is no one size fits all. There is no prescription that I can give you. The best way that I can help businesses grow by using LinkedIn is to teach you to have a look at the fundamentals. You need to go back to your game plan. You need to have a look at what your business goals are. You need to assess what your resources are. You need to then have a look and say, based on the resources, i.e. the time, the energy, the money that we can put into this, how many staff we have available. Do you have staff at all? You may not. Where is the best bang for buck to get started? So the only thing that I can tell you definitively is that you cannot be invisible on the number one B2B platform where people come to do business, where 4 out of 5 decision makers hang out. It is not an option to be completely invisible. So you need to find a way that you can get active out on the platform. And of course, if you need some help, if you're stuck, you don't know how to make this assessment and work out where is the best use of your time and resources, then that is absolutely something that I can help you with. So connect with me on LinkedIn, drop me a message, and we can set up a time to have a chat and see how I can work with your business. Next week on the podcast, I'm going to be talking about something that nobody else on LinkedIn is talking about, and that is page advocacy. That is all about how can your page help support your employees to build their personal brands. How can the page get involved in conversations? There's so much talk about employee advocacy. It's all about how do you get the employees to talk about the brand? And I'm going to go the other way around. Get the page to help the employees shine. I can't wait to talk about this one. So make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss out. Until next week, everyone. Cheers.